Hello, I'm Org. In this video we say farewell to the Vk.30.02M, or as I'm going to call it throughout the rest of the video, the 3002M. This first game I'm going to show you is an example of me managing to get lucky while playing the tank poorly. So I'll mostly talk over it and leave the better games at the end. The 3002M is a German Tier 6 medium tank in the line to the E50M. Historically, the 3002M was one of the two proposals to meet the Wehrmacht's requirement for a new medium tank to replace the Panzer IV and Panzer III. The project was started after the Germans realised that they were technologically outclassed by the Soviet T-34 and KB tanks. Daimler-Benz and MAN were both asked to provide prototypes for a 30-ton medium tank that was superior to the Soviet designs. The results were the 3002DB and the 3002M. The Daimler-Benz design was very similar to the T-34 and included the Soviet turret placement, suspension and engine placement. The MAN design was a more typical German tank, other than the sloped armour. In part because of the familiarity to other German tanks, the 3002M was selected to become the prototype for the Panther tank, with a few modifications demanded by Hitler. Hitler decided that this tank needed thicker armour, meaning that eventually it was 15 tons heavier than originally designed, and much less manoeuvrable. The 3002M, as it is found in game, is in many respects how the historical Panther was designed to perform. The 75mm L70 gun is the one that the Panther actually was armed with. However, the 3002M has less armour and higher speed and manoeuvrability than the historical Panther. In the world of tanks, the 3002M is best used as a sniper, unlike how you see me using it here. The 75mm L70 is very accurate, and provided you aim for weak spots, can penetrate the front of almost all the tanks that it will face. It also has a quick aim time and high rate of fire. This means that 3002M, if it can get into a position where it can sustain fire on enemy tanks, it can be devastating. However, this gun has low alpha damage, which means that it should not trade shots with enemy tanks. Having said that, the alpha damage is 135, which isn't that bad for a tier 6 medium tank. It's only when you compare it to the ones armed with 85 or 88mm guns that you can really see how poor it is. The 3002M does not have great mobility compared to the other comparable tanks. Just for example, the other German mediums both have higher top speed and power to rate ratio, and it performs even more poorly when compared to most other nations' tanks. However, having said that, this tank can move, it just takes a while to get to its top speed. I mean, it can also turn, but just not quite as fast as I would have liked it. The armour of the 3002M is also okay for its tier. As you just saw then, it does get the occasional bounce. However, it doesn't really put up much resistance to higher tier tanks. But the frontal plate is sloped and fairly thick, and it does have a very thick gun mantlet. So especially from the front, it can get bounces. However, the side armour is only 40mm thick, so you really do not want to angle this tank very much at all. This tank also presents a very large target. So if you're sitting out in the open, very few shots taken at this tank will miss. On the other hand, it does actually have more hit points than the average tier 6 medium, but in an ideal world you wouldn't want to use them. Because of the lackluster traverse and power to rate ratio, as well as the average level of armour, the 3002M is best kept at a range from the enemy, and preferably in a held down position during assault. However, I found this to be easier said than done. my instinct is to be driving the attack forward and putting pressure on the enemy, which this tank is really suited for. But there is one secret little advantage. Because this tank is quite heavy, it can ram. Just to show you a bit about the movability here. I'm trying to circle the target, and I'm not doing too badly. Managed to trap him, which was good there. But I can't quite manage to finish the circle. And then in a minute you'll see I get frustrated at how long it's taking to kill this guy, and I decide to ram a tier 7 heavy tank. Not the smartest, but I mean it worked, so it only took like half my health. As I was saying, I kind of found this tank difficult to play at first, because I cannot play it as aggressively as I was used to. After about 60 games or so, my win rate was just about 40%, and I kind of had maybe 0.3 kills per game. Needless to say, I was not having very much fun. However, I eventually got my head around how to play this tank, as you'll see in the next two replays. And after 144 games, I'd actually managed to drag my stats up to 49% win rate and an average of 0.82 kills per game. At one point I actually started having fun with the tank. So here, another ram. I just felt I had to include that little replay because I managed to get killed get like 2 kamikaze medals essentially. I managed to kill 2 tier 7 tanks via ramming, but I die right here. Okay, so this is kind of the first game that I'm actually kind of playing the tank properly. So, kind of ignore what you've seen up to now. They're kind of just examples of me getting lucky or having a bit of fun ramming things. So, I cannot remember what this map is called. I can never remember what this map is called. But I figure since I'm a sniper, I'm going to go sit up in these trees here, so I can take shots at whoever lot comes along the valley and up along the ridgeline there. You can kind of see old habits die hard. I'm actually still on the front line, pushing up quite far for someone who wants to sit back and snipe. I'm going to kind of rely on the trees to give me concealment. And I was hoping that Stuart would actually go forwards to the spot for me, but seems to decide to have stopped there. So I'll just move up to where I can do a bit of spotting myself. Again, not ideal, but I'd rather do something than nothing. Here we see an M3 lead. A little bit lucky there, managed to track him. And a shot into the engine sets him on fire. Oh man, I can't be too proud of that, it was a tier 4 tank. I was just moving around a bit, kind of pulling back into bushes just in case someone had spotted me. But it doesn't look like anyone did. I'm really wanting my team to move forward a bit for me so I can actually get some shots, but it doesn't look like they're going to. So I figure I'll just move up into the village, since I'm not that interested in just sitting back and camping. As you can see, a KV-1S is going to push through the villages in the open, and coming around and putting pressure on our heavies. So I'm going to try and take shots at it from a couple hundred meters range. Not quite yet, don't have the can't quite get line of sight. There it was, just quickly stop, aim. Bit of invisor taking here since he won't be able to see me through the bushes. Yep, nice easy kill there. Took a bit of pressure off my team. See a Cheeto. Yeah, for some reason I thought that KV-1S was on my side of the ridge. No, this Cheeto here is. Just climbing up, hasn't noticed me. It's like 7 hit points if I took a... what was it, tier 6? Cheeto? Yeah, took a tank out of the game, that's the main thing. Well, now we've cleaned up on the west, and tanks have started reappearing over in the west, so use that speed, especially since I'm going downhill it helps a bit, but use the speed to get back over here into the bushes so we can snipe some more. And of course, by the time we get here, everybody has disappeared and most of our team is dead. Just sit here, hopefully we'll be able to see the enemy as they go over the open ground then. Not quite yet. Oh, we've reached the enemy base, starts putting tanks there, there's their artillery. And I thought maybe I had a sneaky shot underneath the bridge, but doesn't look like it. And Stuart's just popped up on the map. There he is. Okay, he turned up the hills, missed that shot. But there. Oh, and they definitely saw me. Just pull back. This is really bad because it's a long way before I get into hard cover. Ooh, might as well stop and take some shots. Let's take those. Hit the tracks. Miss. Take a speculative shot there, but that probably missed. Went shot a bit low. Got one bit in just at least. Oh, and they've all noticed me. Clear my tracks because I'm not sitting out in the open over that middle fire. Just try and put some hard cover between me and the enemy. But yes, I'm having the reverse because side and rear arm is rubbish. Okay, so now I'm thinking we should kill this Churchill sequel. It's on low health, I've got Stook 3 nearby to help me. I'm just going to wait for the Stook to show up. I miscalculated there, I didn't think the Churchill would be able to shoot me this time, but obviously it could. And this is kind of embarrassing. I bounce, back of the turret, bounce, so I have to actually aim, back of the turret again, didn't go through. Rear of the tank. There we go, on fire. But all those bounces gave the Churchill enough time to actually kill my Stook friend. So that's less than ideal. Now the enemy only have 2 tanks left, but they are down by our base. Well, now one of them is on our base. Whereas we have a Churchill gun carrier capping. But I figure it's up to me to decap. It's not really important right now. It looks like we're going to win unless they get a second tank on the cap. But it's no harm going back and just doing a little bit more damage. Yeah, I'll kind of stop here just to see if I can spot the enemy. As I prefer to engage them at range if I could. There's the Matilda, which means it's the Easy 8 on the cap. And I mean, there's only one spot that I can't see, so we know he's there. Well, it's the end of the game. I've got hit points to spare. So... Fortunately I didn't quite kill him. And here I try to hide behind the Easy 8, but it doesn't quite work. I'm a bit bigger than it. I mean, that's a nice way to decap. So I got a fair few defense points as well as doing 1500 damage. This is the last game I want to show you, and it's probably the best, or at least the best of the replays I bothered to save, of the best example of how you should play the 30.02M. So it's on Sand River, and I figure I'm a sniper. I should go take the high ground, see what I can do from up here. I mean, especially since the armor's not that great, especially the lower plate. This is a good place because you can keep the lower plate covered while shooting down at your enemies. unfortunately I've actually got a few bit of support coming up with me. The KV2 is going to come up, it's going to be a bit of a laugh, but every little bit helps. So right here, that little rock outcrop will keep my lower plate covered. And we've spotted a bunch of enemy tanks. I figure the Panzer V is probably the most dangerous, at least got the most dangerous gun. And I'm not going to bounce it. So I put a few shots in, switch to the TOG because I don't have to expose myself too much to hit it. TOG misses. I'm guessing that was because he didn't aim long enough. And there we go, straight through. So I just bounced a shot from the Panzer V. That's not common. See, this is a situation where I talked about, where if you let the 3002M just unload on people, that can do a lot of damage. Like, I've already done more than my hit points worth of damage. But I did take a big hit there from the Sherman. Knocked out my observation device, or damaged it, which is unfortunate, because I think I'm not doing some spotting here actually. I spotted the Sherman. Managed to put a shot in. And that was the KV2 you just heard fire. He's come and parked up beside me and is sniping from the top of the mountain. Which means for some reason it actually seems to work in the KV2. For some reason it's actually a good sniper, but shouldn't be. Missed the TOG. Not often you hear that said, but yeah, I missed. I don't think any more targets can make themselves available, so it's time to move forward. And as you can see, this tank, despite my complaints about its mobility, if it actually starts off and going downhill, it can reach its top speed pretty quickly. And its top speed's actually pretty good. Here's the Sherman. Take a shot, but misses by miles. I figure I'll go over and get him, but I see the 88 and think better of it. Try to position myself to snipe at the 88, but unfortunately my team kills it for me. And now I'm free to go after that Sherman. And I just go straight over the top because I know he's not looking at me. Don't get killed, I don't get damage there. So now I'm just going to be using my speed to get to another sniping position, being this ridge up here, where those kind of rocks and small hills there can still cover my lower plate. I can get pretty effective fire down on the enemy. Oh, sorry, I don't know what happened there. See the T-71? Actually, probably a poor choice of targets to have also spotted the artillery. I was assuming that someone else on my team would get them, and I could just focus on light tank. Or a medium. Don't know. Oh, I can actually see, no, it is a light tank. Ugh, being a bit dull there. I figure I'll get up a bit higher and I can shoot at the tank destroyer there. But the KV2 manages to snipe it. T20. Got a bit lucky with that last one, but cool. Now, as you can see, we've been pretty handily in the lead for a while now, so I figure it's time to stop sniping and actually start getting in there. I've got at least one of the artillery's up there, so I figure we'll go support the Type 58. And look, both the artillery are there, hiding that little corner. Type 58, no, as long as the ARL gets one, Type 58 moves on to the next one. And our artillery managed to hit our own medium tank, which evens up that fight a lot, unfortunately. And there you go, the last rain tank of the enemy team killed the Type 58. And there he is, the Hellcat. That was a very poor shot. But Hellcat's on low health and charging towards me. So, I'll just pre-aim, take the damage. I mean, really I took this. Yeah. That's kind of the best example I think I have of how to play the 3002M. I sat back, I was a sniper, 68% hit percent's alright. As see, I've got the high caliber, did a fair bit of spotting damage. 1900 damage overall, I was going to say 10,000, 1018 experience. You got 1050 damage, potential damage, and 386 damage due to my assistance. Made 18,000 credits profit. So yeah, that's the Vk.30.02M. It's a tank that I really would have missed if the Panther wasn't just so much fun. But yes, I hope you found this interesting and informative. Maybe you've learned something. Anyway, I'll see you all next time.